Today, I want to talk to you about the whole idea of Watson Scientific. Watson Scientific, and the reason why I say this is because of the fact that we are we are having this great discussion about knowledge, science, and everything like that. And honestly, this thing is still not even reflecting, the state is senile. Maybe you might call me a little bit on the senile side because of the fact that I have a little senility as I've been up really, really early, and I'm trying to figure out why is it that my brain didn't want to shut off. I didn't want, I mean, well, even yeah, my brain just did not want to turn off, and I'm sitting here fighting and struggling to go back to sleep, and my brain, you know what, that's what it was, is because I had a different idea, I had a different plan of where I wanted to go with this today, and God was like, no, you're too busy on focusing on world events. So I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to talk to you about the speech of the president speaking last night addressing Congress. I'm not going to talk about the historic stuff that's out there. I'm not going to talk about even Tim Scott's response to what's taking place. So if that's what you wanted to hear and your feelings are hurt that I'm not covering that, may I suggest to you that you consider one of our sponsors who deals with people who might be struggling with their emotions, struggling with their not getting what they want all the time, and might I consider New Life Holistic.
That's it. Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need to detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle4Freedom has sent you. One more thing. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic.
The consult is free. I want you to consider New Life Holistic. If you don't enjoy the fact that I'm not telling you what you want to hear today because I'm not talking about politics today, that's perfectly fine. Also, one thing to consider while you're in the process of doing this, why don't you have some American Pride Roasters coffee so you can chill out and enjoy the show?
That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo50 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle4Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel Blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo50 Radio, and most important, Battle4Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters.
American Pride Roasters Coffee. Tell them Watson from Battle4Freedom sent you, and enjoy. I see that Linda, Carrie, Kathy, Jen have joined in. Thank you. And Curtis as well. Carolyn, I see you as well too. Thank you for being part of this. So the idea of today is talking about Watson Scientific. For those of you who are coming in late, the broadcast is called Watson Scientific, Exposing Science for Free. Now, you have to understand that this is a little bit of a play on words with what you have with Boston Scientific, because this is a big company, a medical company that puts a lot of different things, and their tag is advancing science for life. And so basically, I want to do Watson Scientific, exposing science for free. The reason why I say this is because of the fact that we live in an age and a time where there's so much energy pushed out to the advancement of science and technology, and how far humanity has come because of the different things that we have learned and we've built upon because of the science. There was a lot of language that, and good morning, Renee, thank you for joining, and all the trouble you caused yesterday. You're the reason why I stayed up late, Renee. So just want you to know. And the reason why I'm a little bit crazy, you could blame Renee. Look at her math questions on her timeline. Either way, you look at the whole idea of science. Donald Trump was lambasted as the anti-Trump or the anti-science administration. That's the language. They ignored the science about what went on when it came down to how do we respond to the virus and vaccines and all these other different things. Christianity has been called the anti-science as this has been pushed out. And what's really sad is that a lot of Christians, there are Christians who are denying Christianity and actually buying into the lie and the myth that Christianity is anti-science. And it's really sad because everything is based on faith. And no. There's scientific data. There's critical scientific data that actually supports a lot of the different things that we have in the Bible if you are willing to sit down and study the evidence. More and more evidence comes out almost every day that just provides the validity of everything that was said in the Bible, but many of you don't want to believe it because you want to trust the science. And so I want to spend some time here today talking about the science because a lot of people sit here and they put a lot of hope, they put a lot of energy into trusting that science is the end all be all to all information, all things correct, all things true. So what I want to do is I want to go to, do I want to do this from, let's do Merriam-Webster's because I like their definition most often. Science. The state of knowing, knowledge as distinguished from ignorance or misunderstanding. 2, a department of systematized knowledge as an object of study, or B, something such as a sport or technique that may be studied or learned, like systematized knowledge. There's another one, knowledge or a system of knowledge covering general truths of the operation of general laws, especially as obtained. Now, wow, holy cow, they've changed this. Holy cow. They've changed this because science was always the idea of repeatable, observable data. See, this and this is a knowledge or a system of knowledge covering general truths or operation of general laws, especially as obtained and tested through the scientific method. See, what happens is they're pushing that science is the end all, or it's the completion of knowledge. And see that right there, it's a very dangerous statement to sit here and say the state of knowing, knowledge as distinguished from ignorance or misunderstanding. Because right now, the idea is they're saying that somehow in your science, you have come to understand everything that needs to be known, and you become the author, you become the expert, you become the subject matter expert on content, on data, regardless of whether or not your information is right or wrong. Because they're saying that it comes from ignorance or misunderstanding, but here's the question about it, because when you look at a lot of the different things that are being pushed off as science right now, like the theory of evolution, it's proven science. That's what's being taught in our schools. That's what's being taught in our schools. Proven science. There's a lot of different things that I want to speak to you about. Carrie, Fauci definitely got a hold of Webster. As you sit here and you watch how, Jen, science does prove scripture. That you sit there and you spend the time, but people don't want to look at this information. They don't want to recognize that there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of arrogance, not ignorance. It's probably ignorance and arrogance in the scientific community is being pushed off as truth. And so I want to have a discussion about that. I'm blown away because of the fact as you sit here and you look at this as the knowledge, systemized knowledge as an object of study, a department of systemized knowledge as an object of study. And what happens is they turn around and they try and say the science, you got to trust the science, got to trust the science, got to trust the science. But we watched over the last 15 months how the science has been inconsistent, and one of America's top scientists slash doctors has been flip-flopping and changing, just like the nature of evolution. Just like how they sit there and they reject creationism, they reject intelligent design, and they buy into evolution. And you have to understand that there are some things that you look. Let me find this one thing that just really stuck out on me as we go. This is who wrote this. There was a business I was looking at. Earlier that showed their position on science. Here it is. Oh my goodness. This one was crazy as I looked at their position. This was a company. This is a business. And I want you to take a look at how this company basically gives their position on science or even on evolution. This is from ACS. The company is ACS. You can go to their website, which is, I believe, acs.org, if I'm correct. Yes, acs.org. And they do chemistry for life, okay? This isn't the open thing about, they wrote an article in 2020. They basically wrote an article that basically said, teaching of evolution, fact, and theory. The American Chemical Society, ACS, strongly supports the inclusion of evolution and K through 12 science curricula at an age-appropriate level because this theory is central to our modern understanding of science. The theory of evolution is not a hypothesis, but the scientifically accepted explanation of the incontrovertible fact that life in and its many forms has changed over the years. Built upon hundreds of years of scientific observation and experimentation and tens of thousands of peer-reviewed science publications, evolution provides scientists and students with the unifying concept that explains the incredibly rich diversity of living things. Now, see, this is the thing about it. Now, the circular reasoning, as you sit here and you look at the way that they're talking about this, because they say, now get this is really key, because they in their first sentence. Here it is. Because the theory is central to our modern understanding of science. The theory is central. They say it's central to the not the fact that it is proven. It's not that, now they're going to go through and say, oh, we have all these evidence, we have all these experiments, we have all this stuff, and people have published things. Well, guess what? There's been a lot of people who have published things. Where is it? Are you kidding me? Where is it? Where did I put it? Hello? My Bible. I'll find it. I'll find it in a second here. But the Bible been written over 105 different authors. The Bible handed down and written over a period of, is it 25 or 3,500 years? That you have the Bible that's been written and it has been handed down from Jewish community to Jewish community as they memorize this all the way back to the children of Israel, the tribe of Levi would sit there and by rote memory record and hand down what we have in the Old Testament. The law handed down, scientifically proven that they were able to recite what we have in the Bible from beginning, because it was said in a poetic fashion that they have how they remembered and recalled the Word of God. To sit here and basically ignore the truth of what we have. The Bible has been around for thousands of years. The scientific data supporting the evidence of the Bible. You have the Dead Sea Scrolls that came out to give more authenticity to the reliability of what we have in the Word of God. But because we've had hundreds of years as opposed to thousands of years of what we have from the Bible, we're going to trust evolution over the Bible. Because if in your opening statement here that it's the theory of evolution is not a hypothesis, but the scientifically accepted explanation. And see, and that's the key word here. Because there's a lot of things that we push in science right now saying it was scientifically accepted. That they're saying that it's accepted. This practice is accepted. It's not that it's proven. It's not that it's actually been verified without the shadow of a doubt. Because there's even a lot of Christians right now who work in companies like Boston Scientific that will turn around and they'll say to you, well, you know what? Theory of evolution is true. We're not even going to talk about it. The speed of light has been accepted as 299 miles and 299 million miles per hour is the speed of light. That's been the accepted scientific number, not the proven scientific number. It's been the accepted. And this is where we are right now because of the fact that even as we see what is taking place with this vaccine and with the virus and so much more, and trusting in the accepted science of vaccination, the accepted science of all this information, even though it's been proven that the flu vaccine has been less than 40 to 60% accurate every year. And this is a failing grade if you go to school. If you get anything less than a 65, it's a failing grade. But the accepted science of the flu vaccine, of this new vaccine, and it's been accepted, even though there's still a trial period. I even received an email yesterday that basically says that a company and the medical community strongly feel that the vaccine is safe. Strongly feel is not a legitimate scientific supporting answer. But see, you see how far we've come in this language of how we strongly feel, not strongly supported data. You just strongly feel that this is how it should go. But guess what? A lot of Christians strongly believe and strongly feel that the Bible is true, but they are pushed off as heretics. They are pushed off as backwards. They are pushed off as Neanderthals. They are pushed off as unintelligent. So which community gets the right to say who's right and who's wrong? See, because as you sit here and you look at this, well, because thousands of people are written. Well, guess what? We've got thousands there. If that's the case, we've got hundreds of years of people who've been writing books about the Bible. Let's go back to Constantine. Let's go back to Josephus. Let's go to all the extra biblical texts around the time of Jesus within the first couple of centuries. And you look at all the people who have written from the external, Pliny the Younger, Josephus, and so many other different authors who wrote during that time and made references to Christianity. They said that you could find a lot of the external sources to Christianity and look at all the information that was put together right there and still assemble most of the Bible based on external texts that made references to what we have in the Bible today. That's the science. The science proves that, but we can't go there. Huh. Isn't it interesting? Yes, Renee, in the beginning, yeah, here's some proven science. In the beginning, God created. Boom. Genesis 1:1. Genesis 1:1. But see, the problem is the language that actually goes to make Genesis, the first 11 chapters of evolution allegory, it's rooted in Darwin evolution. It's rooted in, see, you have to understand that all the efforts to do separation of church and state, and so that we could put in our religion of evolution into the schools, into the community, into society, so that we believe and follow this stuff, all rooted in evolution. We don't want to talk about that. We can't call, see, evolution is the accepted truth. It's the accepted information, but it's not the proven truth. See, that's the thing about it. As we sit here and we keep looking at the science, and the reason why I bring this up is because there's a lot of this trust in the science. Do I hate science? No, by no means. I love science. If you want to see some science that I love mathematical science. Yesterday, Renee put out a math program. She put out, not a math program, but she put out a math problem on her wall. And everybody sitting there, they're doing the numbers, and I love numbers. I spent way too much time on it last night, going through all the different, ways that these numbers could be calculated. So I put it out there, and I was like, oh, 12. I saw it, 12. She's like, no, it's 18. It's 12. Now, there's a way that you can see, actually, the way that I finally saw how Kathy and Renee got 18. I think that was the evolutionary way of how you got 18. If you just look at the data, the way that the math problem was presented, oh yeah, you could see it. You subtract, multiply, boom, there's your number. That's the way that the evolutionists have been doing it. That's the way that the scientific community has been doing it. Because they're not following a formula, not following a pattern. They basically just skip. Let me get this thing here. Now I'm mad. Now I'm mad because I've got to bring this thing out here. Okay, here you go. This is so on the left-hand side, you'll see the math test that was put out. Ignore my 12 for now and just look at what was out there. You had 90 equals 9. You had 8 equals 72. You had 7 equals 56. 6 equals 42. And then 3 equals what? I put 12, but everyone believed at the idea that it was 18. And I'm like, how? I'm like, show your work so that I can understand, because I'm going to show you how I did mine. 9, if you did 9 square plus 9 is 81 plus 9 gives you 90. And then you can follow the patterns all the way down, and it can show you exactly the way that the stuff came out. And I'm sitting here, and I just kept, and then when Kathy said, I've got 18 as well too, I'm like, but how did you do it? And then I finally realized, so what they did was, instead of looking at the equal sign and everything to the right, they went down and to the right. So they went from 9 times 8 equals 72. Then from 8 down to 70 times 7 equals 56. And then from 7 down to 6 times 6 equals 42. So hence 6 down from 3 down times 3 equals 18. That's Darwin evolution. That's Darwin evolution, okay? And yes, Kathy, patterns can be deceiving, and the patterns even that's been pushed as fact in Darwin evolution has been deceiving from day one. Because science says there's a pattern here, which I've shown you on the right-hand side. I've even gone further to add more examples of how this number comes out the way it does. When you ask the evolutionists to show their work, they have no work for you to show. There is no data to show. Listen, when we get back, I want to talk more about the science, because this is critical, folks. You have to understand, this is critical when we look and we see what's taking place as in the name of science and how far we will go to screw this thing up. I'm your host, Battle4Freedom from Battle4Freedom. Let's go to a break. Talk to you on the flip side.
And now, Mommy at church. Mommy?
Yeah?
I'm hungry. Yeah, I'm hungry too.
Yes, girls. Mommy's hungry too. We will get something to eat when your daddy is ready. Let's all go to the bathroom.
10 minutes later. Almost done.
Mommy?
What can I do for you?
Why is Daddy taking so long? Awkward!
Because Daddy is a preacher, and preachers have to talk to everyone.
Triggered! But isn't church over?
Baby, church is never over for preachers.
20 minutes later.
Why is Daddy still talking? Triggered!
Because Daddy has to take 15 minutes with every person he talks to.
Triggered! Triggered! Whoa! Ain't that the truth? Triggered!
Hey guys, let's get going.
I love being married to your dad.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Battle4Freedom from Battle4Freedom on Mojo5 Radio. My website, battle4freedom.com, but I also want you to go to mojo50.com. Why? Because of the fact that there's just a lot of information that we share on this network. Free speech and just free thought. And hopefully, as you hear this stuff, and it's not the pre-programmed stuff that you normally hear on mainstream news, you actually can start thinking these things through. I really hope that we get to the point that we can really start thinking and asking the right questions. Because if we don't ask the right questions, then society continues to be deceived and there's no answer and people left in the darkness. Right now, a lot of people shared yesterday about how they were sad that they did the vaccine for all the wrong reasons. And I don't, listen, if you got the vaccine, I'm not condemning you. If you didn't get the vaccine, I'm not condemning you. You have to understand here that everyone is offered free choice. Everyone has that right. From a perspective as being an American citizen, that soldiers have fought for your liberties and your rights for over 246 years. From Romans chapter 4, chapter 14, that talks about our Christian liberties. I'm here to let you understand your Christian liberties, your American liberties. I want you to understand, not the nonsense being peddled as civil rights right now. No. The God-given rights that you've been given for so long, and many of us are jettisoning them because other people told us that this is the way that we should go. And not because we didn't ask the questions, we just accepted things as true. Even now, as we look at what's happening with the virus, as we look at what's happening with, the vaccine. I remember last year, it was in February, I believe it was. There were about, I don't think it was even 15 people dead from coronavirus. And the media excoriated Donald Trump. The media, the Democrats, they raked him over the coals. They stripped him naked and they dragged him through the lava pits and the broken glass and the feces in the midst of all. I mean, I'm getting graphic because this is what they did, and only 15 people died. We have at least 36 people dead because of the vaccine. I think it's Johnson & Johnson in, I think it's Michigan alone. And there's no media outrage. Oh, well, this is accepted. Oh, and guess what? You have protection. The virus, the companies that create the vaccine have a congressional protection that they can't be sued if people die because of this. But we can't guarantee gun owners protection if someone dies by their products. But we can guarantee that someone cannot be sued. Do you see how right there, the science of law and consistency is broken when we say that we can protect someone who can die? Come on, let's get this straight here. Folks, the scientists. Because if we can say that the science of let's see, that a person can be who gets killed by a gun or ammunition from a company should be that company that made the ammunition, that made the firearm, should be sued. Then logically speaking and scientifically speaking, that means that same law applies even when it comes to vaccines. But they wrote the law so that you can't do what is scientifically correct. Huh. Now, why would they do that unless they knew that people would... Wait. Why would you pass a law protecting the vaccine companies from being sued if someone died or someone had a severe reaction from their medicine unless they knew that people would die and have severe reactions to their vaccine? It's almost like their science told them that people would die. It's like their science told them, and that people did die during their experiments, during their trials, like happening right now. The vaccines are not proven. They're still in a trial period. Look at their websites. 2023 is when this stuff is finally saying, yes, we've gone through enough of a trial. We're making this final declaration that this vaccine X, vaccine Y can be used. It's been proven, and this is how many people died. We're in a trial period. The science is still being evaluated. But people strongly feel that that the medical community strongly feels that this is safe enough for society. Strongly feel is not an educated statement. Because I strongly feel that vanilla ice cream is amazing. I strongly feel that mango is the best, or mangoes are the best fruits on earth. I strongly feel that the Dolphins should win the Super Bowl every year from now on. Does that make it true? Does it make it a palatable truth? No. Strongly feel is just an encouragement, is just a recommendation. It is not a statement of fact. But this is the science that we're running on. This is the science that we trust and believe is true. The feels generation, that's exactly it. But we got to trust that polio, we did this with. Polio still isn't proven perfectly true. Because here's the thing about it on science. The science is making the general assumption that every individual will take this medication and have result X. That is the pushed science right now in front of all of us. It's the proof. Our president, Joe Biden, said this 3 weeks ago. Take the virus, take the vaccines we have right now. They will defeat all the different variants. The president of the United States of America said that, and the media went absolutely silent. Not one word. The administration stepped it back. We can't go that far. But this is what's pushed as accepted science. Let's go to some Jungian things because I'm getting hot right now, and I just need to calm down. Because yesterday I got a little bit hot. My wife properly wrote triggered in the timeline yesterday as I sat there getting a little bothered about the language that's going on about vaccination. Because a lot of vaccine shaming is going on. Vaccination shaming and vaccine shaming is taking place, and it's starting all the way from the top of the administration in this country. We are trying to create a world of inclusion, and we don't want people like you. Yug. Yes. Yes. As we sit here and we look at this, oh, you don't want to wear a mask? Oh, you don't want to be vaccinated? Well, what's your problem? You don't love people? You don't care about people? It's a Christian thing to do. Huh. There's a lot of things that we say in the church that you should do that's a Christian loving thing to do, but that's not optional because it doesn't affect everybody. But yes, it does. Sin does have an effect on society. It erodes society from the individual involved in the sin to the parties involved in sin, to the community involved in sin, to the country involved in sin, to the world involved in sin. But we don't want to talk about sin. We can't talk about its level of corruption. We can't talk about how disastrous sin unchecked would be on a culture. For crying out loud, we allow booty shaking, bling, and bang, bang, gack, gack, gack. That's a sinful culture that is ruining, eroding a community. But we can't talk about that. Well, but we can demand masks. We can demand that people wear masks, but we can't stop the gack, gack, gack and the booty shaking and all the crack. Let me move away from that. Here's another one. It matters little if your eyes are wide open, but your lens is tainted. Let me try that one more time. It matters little if your eyes are wide open, but your lens is tainted. See, medical companies that build instruments, companies that do research, they're tainted. Why? They're tainted with the idea and the concept and the not proven theory, but the hypothesis of evolution. Evolution is not a theory. A theory is proven. Theory of relativity, theory of gravity. Evolution is not proven. Let me repeat. Evolution is not proven. And when you start looking at the language of what it says, when you start looking at what they're trying to push in the idea of the what is it, natural selection and everything like that, when you look at normal models that sit there and they tell you and they ask you just critical questions. Okay, so here's one on the science on this, on the issue of natural selection. Let's go with this and survival of the fittest. So at one point they say to you that one organism is how everything came down the pipeline, right? And then at some particular point, the organism split from male to female. Now, if society is evolving to become more independent and surviving what's going on, so for the asexual being to be split into male and female, now you have a female and male who are needing one another to continue the creation of life. Now you sit there and you look at Jurassic Park, and they're like, because they had to figure out that, you remember the first movie, and like how in the world did they create? Because nature always finds a way. So they have to make up this story that every rest of humanity, all the other creation, just spontaneously created. They figured out a way to self-replicate without the dependency of male-female in the system of what exists. They had to stretch. There's no connecting dot. Maybe one species in this world that has the ability to replicate itself out, but no other one can. A man can't sit here. I can't sit here and think hard enough and pop a baby out. And even my wife can't sit there and pop a baby out without the actual act that brings about the creation of the life in the womb that makes the baby come out. It's not spontaneous creation. But this is what evolutionists will push. But if we separate to male and female, we now become dependent. And you can't kill off the male population because there's no sperm to fertilize the egg. And you can't kill off the female population because there's no egg to fertilize and actually go through the process of gestation and bring about a child. You sit here, the booty and gag dance. You're so silly, Gary. As we sit here, again, the science. Let's see if I can find some of these articles here, because I'm just getting a little bit too hot under the collar right now, and I just need to calm down. You know, there was this article on the Washington Post that basically said that, you know, they pushed the theory of white supremacy. You know, white supremacy they even try to say, oh, here it is, white, a brief history enduring phony science that perpetuates white supremacy. In March 12, 1851, the noted physician Samuel A. Cartwright reported to the Medical Association of Louisiana that he had identified the malady, and by combining two Greek terms, given it its name, drapetomania, okay, drapets, runaway, and mania, madness. He also announced that it is completely curable. Negroes, with their smaller brains and blood vessels and their tendency towards indolence and barbarism, Cartwright told fellow doctors he had only to be kept benevolently in the state of submission and awe and reverence that God had ordained. That he said that the Negro is then spellbound and cannot run away. This was part of the language that was pushed by doctors, by the science community, to push and support the idea of slavery. They've changed the language. I mean, wasn't it not even 40 years ago that you looked in the science textbooks and they said that the Negroid population, that they pushed that they were less intelligent than the Caucasoids? This was the science that's been taught for so long. And remember, when you sit here and you look at the Christians trying to justify, when you look at this, I think it's an article in the Times that sits there and talks about the whole idea that the slavery and U.S. slavery can be found, or the justification of the slavery and racism that we experience today is justified or found in the roots of U.S. Christianity, where they said Christians tried to turn around and basically use the Bible to support the concept of keeping people enslaved. But here's the funny part about it. You can't find any documents that push that information as early as the 1650s. You can't find it. Actually, you can't find any of it before 1830. But you know what you can find from 1830 and beyond? I'll give you one name. Darwin. As Darwin started publishing his essays in 1830, as the language started circulating around about the idea of species, and he finally publishes his theory of evolution in 1859, but the information had already been circulating. That the idea of there being a lower class of citizen already existing had already been pushed and going through the annals and through the scientific community, all the way up until the time he pushes and publishes the theory of evolution in 1859. 2 years later, you actually have Christian preachers who are sitting there telling you that there's biblical evidence to support the inferiority of blacks from the Bible. Don't tell me that this happened before. But here's the thing about it too, that white supremacy wasn't even founded because of Darwin. White supremacy, black supremacy, ethnocentrism, egocentrism has happened even since the dawn of time. To sit here and actually say that white supremacy is a U.S. concept is the highest form of ignorance. The science will show you that you had the Asian community, you had the Chinese, you had the dynasties. Look at it right now. You have a form of ethnocentrism that happens between Japan and China, between North Korea and between China and Vietnam, between China and the Philippines. Just even within the Asian community, you have the idea of ethnocentrism and the idea or egocentrism that my group, my party is more important and more intelligently sound than you are. Look within India, where you have the 4 caste systems that has existed long before slavery. The caste system has existed for a long time. And they decided to put in India, the darker color individual is the lowest in our community. Huh. Now, where did that language come from? Not from the United States. Not from Europe. I mean, you even had the idea of, think about it. You've had the oh my goodness, what's their name? The Norwegian group of people, individuals Vikings. That was a form of ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism, egocentrism has existed with the idea, and yes, and with tribes within the same country can believe in superiority. But see, the thing about it is that they're going to try and say that Hitler got his idea of ethnocentrism from the United States. Because they have to push that, and they have to push that narrative that ethnocentrism only started in here in the United States instead of pushing the truth. But see, the reason why I sit here and I talk about these articles here is here's another one here. Oh yeah, here was an article written. Oh wow, a person was from Fort Wayne, Indiana. This was published in 2015 from the Linacre Quarterly, 82. Where you had a person who wrote homosexuality and the scientific evidence on suspect anecdotes, antiquated data, and broad generalizations. See, here it is. Look at this. In the summary of his article that was written here, he says, at one time, and he says in the lay summary, at one time, homosexuality was considered to be a mental disorder. Since the 1970s, however, major medical associations in the United States have labeled homosexuality as a normal counterpart of heterosexuality. Those medical associations have proposed that their homosexuality is normal claim is based on scientific evidence. This article critically reviews the scientific evidence and finds that much of their literature does not support the claim that homosexuality is normal. This article suggests that instead of supporting their claim with scientific evidence, those medical major associations arbitrarily label homosexuality as normal. Now, this is just one article where someone's going against what was said. There's another article that was written in 2015, I believe from the same place. Oh, no, this was written from MDPI.com journal. It's talking about out of DSM, pathologizing homosexuality. As you sit here and you look at how it talks about how in 1973, the American Psychiatric Association removed the diagnosis of homosexuality from the second edition of its Diagnostic and Statistic Manual. This resulted after comparing competing theories, those that pathologized homosexuality and those that viewed it as normal. In an effort to explain how the decision came about, the paper reviews some historical scientific theories and arguments that led to the placement of homosexuality in DSM-1 and DSM-2, as well as alternative theories that eventually led to its removal from DSM-3 and subsequent editions of the manual. This paper concludes that the discussion of the socio-cultural aftermath of that 1973 decision. So he talks about the whole idea of the theories of homosexuality. It talks about the theories of immaturity and the theories of normal variation. All the different things these are things that the scientific community has talked about for so long on pushing that this is fact, the science. I mean, look, here it is. Here's another one from the NIH, the National Institute of Health. That sits there, and here's an article that was written, Psychology of Science Public Interest, 2007, in August. This was written, that the science of sex differences in science and mathematics. That, it talks about the whole idea is amid ongoing public speculation about the reasons for sex differences in careers in science and mathematics, we present a consensus statement that is based on the best available scientific evidence. Sex differences in science and math achievement and ability are smaller for the mid-range of the abilities distribution than they are for those with the highest levels of achievement and ability. Males are more variable on most measures. Again, with quantitative information that they're pushing about the science of the sexes and mathematics and so much the science, the numbers that they keep doing, all this stuff can be changed so quickly. But at one point, the scientists promoted one view, and now the science is changing. At one point, the scientists promoted only 2 genders, and now the scientists are saying, because people feel that they are not a gender that they were born, that we can now accept where they are. This is what the science is saying. So if gender fluidity is true, then I would dare say that there's a lot more things that are fluid in the scientific community than it really wants to admit. But we can't have that. We can't have that discussion. We can't be honest about that, can we? We are to the point that we are going to have to decide, is the science true or the science false? We can't sit here and continue to ignore what's happening in front of our face. Separation of church and state, separation of church and state, scientifically proven not to exist in the Constitution, nowhere to be found. Where is separation of church and state? Written in a letter, not in the Declaration of Independence, not in the Bill of Rights, not in the Constitution. But this has been a mantra that people are going to their graves on. But no one wants to do separation of church and state on the religion of evolution. Not the theory, not the truth, the religion of evolution. Because remember, we're looking for the missing link. Constantly searching for the missing link. See, listen, the theory proven actually shows you where the missing link is. Found the missing link. Doesn't have to construct or modify bones and fossils to make a missing link. No, the theory actually shows you where it is. Pointed to it. You see, hey, listen, when you drop 2 objects out of the window, they fall at the same rate. They go down to the ground because of gravity. We're pointing to something here, right? We're pointing to something here, something observable, something repeatable. You can't repeat the Big Bang. You can't repeat the Big Bang. Hey, listen, when we sit there and we tell you about the whole idea that the flood that actually carved the Grand Canyon, oh, that's impossible. Oh, so let's go to something observable and repeatable. So that when Mount St. Helens erupted, it was that in 1982, and you had mass water displacement. What did the water do? It carved out canyons. When you watch flooding that takes place right now in many places where there was maybe regular ground or regular what's going on, what does water do? Moved at a high rate of speed, regardless of its temperature. It cuts through stuff. It builds canyons. It builds ravines. It builds so much. We literally tell our children to study the pattern of erosion of water moving over rocks in a riverbed, but we want to ignore the idea that water moving at the same speed, if not higher and faster, during the flood process could carve out continents and countries and states and whatever it is. No, we don't have that conversation. That proven science on what water can do, that water can carve through things. For crying out loud, why do you think that they saw that the hosing people were so barbaric? Because the force and the power of water could do so much damage to people, just not on the outside, but even on the inside. We can't have that discussion because the science doesn't let us. We'll do more on Watson Scientific and exposing science for free. Right now, we have Brad Staggs and Ron Phillips joining us on the Daily Mojo immediately after this program. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the discussion. I'm your host, Watson Prunier. I'm out. Take care. God bless. Vive la science. Or actually, vive la truth.